All right, my internet was acting up. That's always the reason that I'm just getting like so sick of streams. Like, and this goes back to people who don't make content. When you have to restate what you just said because your connection to a service that's going to result in maybe like five, six, seven, eight people watching you didn't work out. That I don't know. It goes back to like the whole YouTube isn't like the juice isn't worth the squeeze stuff with this site where a lot of times you're asked to do things and make attempts to for like very minimalistic results. So I hope it doesn't go out again. I'm really not in the mood for having to keep restarting it because the connection is unstable. The connection is unstable. If it does it again this time, I'm just gonna just say forget it. So hopefully it doesn't. Oh, what an irritating website. It's so weird. I always close out everything before starting one of these, and just still isn't enough every time. Well, not every time. That's why it's weird that it was doing it because I mentioned before I have two connections, and one of them is not as good as the other, and is the one that does the unstable. But now the one that I'm on, which is the supposedly better one, is doing the same thing. Again, stuff like that just pisses me off because I try very hard to get on here with some consistency, and it just it's really irritating. I like streams because they're interactive. Yeah, they're real fun when I have to restart and restate everything I said because the connection is randomly acting up. And then when you're doing the stream, you got to worry about whether it's going to do the same thing, and you're going to waste your time again. So people don't will never understand what it's like to just put up with, and it's again, this is probably one of the smaller hassles of this site, but it just goes back to the stuff that's irritating with this place. Can't even get into the topic I want to discuss because I'm worried about if I have one person comments and I don't see them. That's always the issue when you restart the stream. It's like where is it? I didn't get a notification. I didn't get a notification. I'm like, well, hell, what am I supposed to do about that? It's just it's. I didn't get a notification. Repeat what you said. Watch me 30 minutes and it says connection is unstable. Somebody lied about having some drama on this website. I actually was saying I wanted to make a video called "The Romance Comic Book," and it was going to talk about how just current day romantic stuff has a lot of parallels to American comics. Um, and this isn't really a thing that's in comics, but more so just in superhero stuff with what's called plot armor, where a character is unaffected by something they should be affected by. So, for example, um, if I wrote a story where someone throws kryptonite at Superman and he's not affected by it, that's him having plot armor because he should be affected by it under the rules I've established. But since he's the main, protagonist or character, I just, decided that it won't work today. um, but if there's an in-story reason for him not being affected by something you normally would be affected by, then it's different. So if I like in the '90s cartoon, they have an episode where he's up against which villain is that? Livewire, I think, and he wears some kind of like rubber thing that stops him from being shocked like everybody else, and that's an explanation for why he's able to fight on par with her. And not just be the case of plot armor. It's them actually explaining why he's able to do this. With the chick stuff, it's like ordinarily you would get blamed for why a relationship didn't work or didn't happen if someone asks you on a date and you say no. Like for example, if a woman asked me on a date and I said I'm not interested, I would be blamed for why that relationship or date or whatever didn't happen. Because I'm the one who says I'm not interested while this other person is interested. But because chicks have like plot armor, they can reject you, and nobody says, "Oh, it's their fault." Like it has to be your fault. So it's your fault if you reject them, and it's your fault if you get rejected by them because that's their plot armor. They can never be criticized or blamed for even the words that come out of their own mouths. That was your fault too. I don't even know what Dio is saying. He just typed something random on the screen. What Arthur? Chester A. Arthur? The was that 21st president? They're ending Arthur the Kid's cartoon that had a long run. Oh. I mean, they ended Naruto and that had a long run. Shippuden was on the air for 10 years. Yeah, Shippuden started when I was in 4th grade and ended when I was in, it was like a couple of months after I graduated from high school. So that show was around for a long time. And I was actually saying this in my other stream that I had started to reread Shippuden because I hadn't read through the whole series before. And back then when it ended, I got really disinterested after they kept sucking off a certain character I don't like. Yeah, 2007, 2017. And I got to tell you that the Akatsuki have some of the coolest designs and like abilities I've seen in, I think, arguably any shonen. But the way they're handled outside of Itachi, Obito, and Pain is just terrible. Like every time when one of the members shows up that's not those three, and then maybe Kazame, they have like one fight and then some like backstory dialogue stuff, and then they get killed off. Well, Brandon, you're gonna keep on waiting for a long time because you got to remember the pandemic. I don't even know what One Piece has to do with this conversation, but uh, the pandemic stalled that series for a year. So even when Oda said it would end in 5 or 6 years, it's going to be another year tacked onto it with all the delays of chapters. Dude, the only, someone actually said this, and it was really true. The only people who are like actively waiting for that to end are people that don't even like it. Because if you actually read it, you're like, how the hell are they going to wrap all of this up in 5 years in like 200 chapters or 300? That is nuts. Like you're doing something right when the main people that are like, I want to see this concluded, don't even read what you make or watch what you make. Because I remember when Shippuden was airing and I like was early into it, I didn't think much about how will this conclude, because I was into the characters. A lot of times I was pissed because they didn't use somebody as much as I thought they should have. Like Rock Lee, they treated him like trash. So, I didn't really care about how this will conclude. I was trying to see what was in the story and if it was going to make good use of the characters that it introduced that I liked. No, that's hilarious. Every time you see somebody trying to get that to end, it's always someone that doesn't even like it. Like James came on my stream and he was like, that needs to end. Like, you don't even like it. You admitted you've never even seen any of it. You just know it exists. You know what it reminds me of? There's a lot of people that say they like American comics that don't even, or like, there's a person on Twitter I spoke to. Because I was telling him I was like reading X-Men. He's like, "Oh, I've never read the comics, but I like the shows and the movies." And I didn't say anything back because whatever. But I was thinking to myself, it's like I've never seen like I'll never understand why people who claim to like a franchise take its source material and just completely ignore it. Like, I actually know people in real life that have, and these are grown men, not little kids, who have like this weird aversion to reading. And we're not talking about a regular novel, but just like a comic book, like a manga or an American comic. And I explained to this guy, I said, look, if you're talking about this stuff being long and you don't have to, it's like in the time it takes to watch Dressrosa, which is 118 episodes, I can read it in like less than 2 days. It's like that's the point of why I don't understand this weird disenchantment with reading. I'll never get it because I'd much rather reread an arc than rewatch it because it just doesn't take as long. Like with Shippuden, when I said I was going to eventually see through all of it, the watching the show never crossed my mind because I actually want to get through it as quickly as possible. It is a long series, and I'll just read it over the course of maybe a week or two, and then I'll be done. Again, there's a lot of contradictions and stuff these people say and do. I always love it. This show is too long. It's like The Simpsons has over 700 episodes. Like, well, you don't have to watch them all at once. Nobody made you see that whole series in like 1 week or one day. That's why I don't get people with some of the complaints they have. I remember this one guy was like, "Why should I watch Shippuden that's 700 episodes? I can watch 7 shows that are 100." I was like, "Well, like what kind of criticism is that? So anytime something is long, why watch it when you can watch something that's shorter? So like by that logic, we shouldn't even watch TV shows anymore because they're always longer than movies. So just watch movies." Simpsons is also not a continuing narrative. I mean, yeah, but what I'm saying is like I've seen the same criticism made that something is too long, and it's like no one's telling you have to watch this all at once. No one will ever have the answers to why people don't like reading. I don't get them at all. And again, it's like I'll understand like looking at a wall of text and saying this is not something I'm interested in because I've had like the main genre of books I like are political and biographical. So when people describe someone's life, I find it interesting. But they can't even read a book with pictures. Like you're not having to imagine what's going on. It's being drawn for you. Especially a lot of the newer comics, like granted, a lot of 60s and 50s and 70s ones tend to have more dialogue than like ones from the 90s and to like now, but I just don't get it. Like you're reading a couple of panels of dialogue on each page. It's so weird to me. And these are, remember the subject material is something they claim to like. Like the only reason when I was a kid I didn't read comics that much was because I couldn't afford them and I didn't know about these websites where they were listed for free. But after finding those websites, I constantly go over there and read different ones. Also, I will never understand why people will watch a show they claim not to like. Well, if they're on this website, they're doing it so they can get some money. Like I know this one group of guys, every time Marvel puts out a show, they say it's bad, but then they go and watch the next one. And like one of them even said, I have to watch this and I have to watch that. And the only reason he does it is because when he does his ridiculously long 4, 5, 6, 7 hour stream on the show, he gets like 30 or 40 super chats. So that's the reason why he does that to get paid. Because there is no way in hell I'd watch something I didn't like, especially like a show. Because if it's a movie, you can say, well, I thought I was gonna like it, I didn't, whatever. But an entire series, I don't know. So go to hell with that one. That was funny. The guy was like, "Oh, all these different superhero comics are so long." I'm like, "Whoa, you don't have to read them all in one day." Like when I'm going through Uncanny X-Men right now, I'm at issue 12 after a week. Like just read a couple each day. That's what I do. They don't even really have like a second big book either. Like I don't remember how many issues X Factor went for, but just compared to some other people, like if you want to read Batman, you have his book that's been going since the 30s, and then Detective Comics. So those are both titles that are like 800, 900 issues. But like I said, it's not that much compared to just asking somebody to read all of DC, especially if you want to read a specific timeline and just like go over a lot of the reboots that they've had, because I always have to explain to people, thanks to DC's constant rebooting of itself, that the version of Batman that appears in what was that, Detective Comics 27, is not the same one who's in current stuff, thanks to their Crisis on Infinite Earths and the rest of that. People can't even read a book with pictures. No, I remember when part one of Naruto was airing, I was so excited for the Akatsuki. I was like, oh man, we're gonna have all these cool fights, and we're gonna find. And then every time one of them shows up, that's not those big three. They have like a little backstory, and they either get one or two fights before they get killed off. Like Hidan has one fight with uh Shikamaru and Asuma, and then has another fight, and then killed off. Same thing with Sasori, where one fight killed off. Deidara, two fights killed off. It's just you know, it just was really underwhelming to me that their members are like the members of the organization that the entire series is building toward being the antagonist are just dropping like flies every time they show up. And look, Dio, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't, because like I don't know if they're gonna pull some flashback, but I don't think we've actually seen all of them together in part two at all. If they were all ever just together speaking to each other, which is really lame, because it's like this is the top villainous organization of the whole show and art series, or whatever you want to call it, and they don't even get together other than these weird silhouette meetings where it still isn't all of them. Theo said Simpsons doesn't have an ongoing narrative. Yes, it does. Sideshow Bob started screwing with Bart, and what was that, season one, season two? And every time he comes back, he's trying to get revenge on him. And one of my favorite episodes is from, I think it's season three, where he has it's Sideshow Bob's second appearance, and at the end of it, because he tries to marry Marge's sister to like get Bart in some kind of tactic, but like as they're like arresting, he's like, "You can't keep the Democrats out of office forever, out of the White House forever. Once they get back, I'll be out on the street." And it's like this really meta commentary on how the Democrats are supposed to be weak on crime. I just want to check the air dates for his third appearance and see if they actually waited for Clinton to take over to put him in the show again. Dio, that was one of the most insane things you've written. There's a whole bunch of continuity in The Simpsons. Hell, The Simpsons, one of the few shows, animated or otherwise, where if a character dies, they do stay dead. Like I know people try to say every episode is just written, as its own thing, but there are little small chunks of continuity, which I do like, because if you have some show that goes for years, I think there should be little stuff that is in line with like I don't want to say rewarding longtime viewers, but just kind of how to explain it. You know, like if you read superhero comics, a lot of times the issues, especially from the early, like from the '60s, don't seem like this big, huge ongoing story, but they do have nuggets of like little continuity. Like when the X-Men fight Blob for the second time, I think it was like issue 7, of Uncanny. They're like, oh yeah, remember that guy that we tried to recruit, and we had to take away his memory of ever meeting us. At least he spoiled our identity or where we live. That's something else that I miss so much. And the MCU is really like spoiled for me. Just secret identities. Like everybody used to have a secret identity. Spider-Man, Thor, Iron Man, the X-Men, everyone, Daredevil. Just as much as I like the first Iron Man, they have convinced a lot of people that he didn't have one. Now everyone's identity is known to everybody. That's why Civil War to me didn't. The film, in my view, is kind of stripped of a lot of things I liked about the comic version because, well, for one, they keep Steve alive at the end of it, and that would have been a really good chance for Bucky to, actually be his own, like ascend to a limelight type role. But it's like you have a universe where in this particular iteration, everyone's identity is known. Nobody wears masks, and if they do, the people that are in their teams know who they are. So it's like, what really is the stake? The stakes, rather. Like everybody knows Ant Man is Scott, for example, in the MCU. I don't know. It seemed like a really good idea when it happened in Iron Man, but after that, they just started doing it for everyone. Like they got rid of Thor's identity, the Donald Blake persona. It's just again a big part of that really played into the idea that a lot of these heroes wanted to live normal lives when they're not saving the world. So it's kind of hard to do that when every single person knows who you are. Oh, my chat died. Oh well. Hey, let me reanimate it. Let me we call it, what's that? I forgot what the name of that jutsu is. The one they used to bring people back from the dead in Naruto. I know that Banana Merchant went to go draw a picture of his favorite villain in the whole world, Pain. No, that was funny. Last time he was really trashing Pain, like on the MCU stream. I was like, Pain is not one of my favorite antagonists. I only speak positively of him because I mean, at least he has some development, and doesn't just show up once and get killed off in his next appearance like a lot of the other antagonists from that show or that series or whatever term you want to use for it. That is another thing I noticed that like in Shippuden they bring somebody back that they haven't used in like a long time just to kill him off. Like they brought back Asuma just to have him get murdered by Hidan, and then they bring back Jiraiya just to have him get murdered by Pain. Like it's funny too because in the manga you notice it more because in my view Kishimoto is really like loose with panels. Like he doesn't it's easy to read through a lot of chapters because there's not that much stuff being written normally, at least for this first part of Shippuden. Um, and you notice like who hasn't shown up in a long time. That was the case with both of them. They vanish from the story, have next to nothing to do. Then they have like one final fight where they die at the end, and then it's supposed to be like this motivating thing to their mentor, to their protege, excuse me. And then so I remember when they had the Kimimaru fight for the Sasuke retrieval arc, how it was like so cool to have this villain that was powerful and only lost because his illness killed him. Like I thought that was really distinct and inventive, right? You know, just to like keep up the idea that if he wasn't sick, everybody over here would be dead. But then it's then when you have the fight in Shippuden between Itachi and you know the Uchiha brothers, like so Itachi, a character that looked well throughout all of his appearances, developed an illness that we were never told of until now, and that's why he wasn't fighting as well as he should. Man, you see how they took what I thought was like a cool, unique way to have a villain get defeated, and then just repurposed it for somebody else, just like recycled that idea. Man, streams are always like this. They have a chat that talks for like 2 minutes, and then they go. The rest of it is you just speaking. That's one of the hallmarks of being a commentator on here. I don't know. People on this website just do things I don't understand. All right, there's this one person who has a video that has 2 million views, and it's something he didn't make, and people are like speaking negatively of him for that. You know, he says in the description, "I did not make this. I'm actually cutting vegetables to make chicken noodle soup." I just thought it was funny that like they're like, "You didn't make it." He's like, "Yeah, I said I didn't." That reminds me when I was on Discord one time, and there's this guy I used to talk to who had it was like 50, 60, 70. Um, no, I'm not giving him publicity. He pissed me off. He had like 50, 60, 70 subscribers, and someone came in there with the same avatar as him, but a different username, like the same like custom picture, like of his drawing character, whatever. People are like, "You're trying to be him. You're trying to trick us." Like, no, I'm just a fan of him. Like his excuse for having the same avatar was like he's just a fan of this person with less than 100 subs. And I just thought that was funny because he keeps saying, "I'm not trying to be him. I just have the same picture because I like this person's channel." You're trying to be him. You're trying to pretend to be him. Why would he have a different username if he's trying? Brandon gonna ask me what's the video. I don't promote bad behavior here, sir. If you piss me off, I'm not gonna promote your video. I had this one guy last year make a video on me. It was in July of last year. I didn't say his video's title at all. I didn't say his name. I just played the video on fast mode and laughed. The only reason his name is even in that stream is because the damage control friend showed up and tried to defend him. He's a really nice guy. We go and play golf together. That's crazy too, because I don't use people's names unless it's something where it's really specific, or if the person's so big, I don't think they would ever know. It's like if I say something about PewDiePie, I don't have to worry about, oh, is he going to do a response video to me tomorrow? No, I don't do free advertising. That's why it was so annoying when people keep bringing up these other romance people. They're like, hey, what about this person? What about that person? What about this person? Because you know damn well that when those people stream or do a video, nobody's in their chat going, have you watched Justin? Have you watched Justin? Have you watched Justin? Have you watched Justin? Never. No, I never use people's names. Not at all. I even had one guy that used to be a commenter on my channel, turn and backstab me. So even his name hasn't been mentioned. Oh yeah, I have another update for the dingbat with the baby because that person just never seems to stop acting insane. Um, if you've followed my stuff for any decent amount of time, you know that that's a name I use for a woman who I used to be friends with that had a child with a man that she treated like garbage for 2 years or 3 years at that point. And I was told, I mean, it's just, it's always, but this isn't as bad as the other things she did. So apparently, while he works, she doesn't, and he expects her to clean the house. And when she didn't do this, he confronted her about it, and then she started yelling and cursing him out and accused him of being a deadbeat parent. Um, and this really affected him and whatnot. I was thinking to myself, it's like, you know, it's so disturbing how every time I hear an update on this relationship, and again, I don't go seeking it out, other people whisper it around me. It's like, I don't understand why people try to parrot chicks as this like automatic paradise that you become involved with if you're, stuck with some broad, and especially one like that. I mean, let's just run down her record, right? In the span of the last 5 years, gets herself kicked out of her home, causing the guy to pay for, which results in her having to use a storage unit to keep her stuff in that the guy pays for at least a year. While he's paying for this, she curses him out and possibly cheats him. That should be 2 points right there, but like, we'll just be conservative and say it's one. Curse him out, possibly cheats on him. Um, Gets him incarcerated with some stupid story about I thought he was going to beat me up, and this is really dumb because she has a vehicle, she has multiple people she can go to the home of, she can go anywhere she wants. Very ridiculous. Um, while he's working whatever current position he has, he's getting paid 100 and I think it's $180 a month or something like that, and then she takes out the 80, so then he starts to believe the company because of her taking stuff out of his account without him knowing is cheating him of his money, which makes him look paranoid to his own employer because the bimbo that he's with is stealing from him. And then our newest deterrence calls the man who, as far as anyone is aware, has been there for his child since day one, a deadbeat, and then lives with this guy while having to do nothing and can't even clean the goddamn house. But this is why I said, like, I can't imagine I personally can't imagine a scenario where I live with some woman who goes to work and I just sit at the house with them. Like, I can't imagine a scenario where if that's the only thing I have to do, that wouldn't be done. Like, you really think I'm gonna say, well, a person that's letting me live here free, I appreciate it, but I can't, do some dishes or clean anything. Nope. Have any of you guys seen the documentary series The Kings on Showtime? No. I was waiting for you to come back because people don't want to hold women accountable when they make bad decisions in this world. Women are portrayed as victims and men as predators. And she's the victim who chose to be with this man. And I guess he's preying on her when he says, can you do something besides sit at the house all day? Dude, that's the second time I've heard a story like that, just from someone I've met. Like there was, I mentioned before, there was a guy on here that made videos that he didn't. This wasn't a YouTube video. He posted on another website where he talked about like how with his girlfriend or his fiance rather, they were living together, and that he would go to work and then she would just sit at the house watching TV all day, and then got mad at him when he told him when he told her to sweep the floor or to clean the floor, something, and then we find out was cheating on him, and, and I was just thinking to myself, it's like, imagine how much of a piece of garbage I would look like if some woman that I'm with lets me stay at her house, right, for free, and I don't clean anything. And then and like, this same maybe I'm sick all because this also happened. I'm sick also, and she takes me to get, to the hospital, whatever. And then my reward for her doing those very nice things is to cheat on her with some broad on an app. I look like the biggest prick in the world. But for some reason, if you're a woman, you can do this stuff to people. Like, it's really crazy. That vagina, man, that thing is really strong. It's even weirder too because she's one of the few broads that I've seen with very little men. Like, I don't think she dated anybody before that guy came. And again, this is someone who I knew for since the time I was a little kid for a very long time. It's funny because it's like you get with this man, and then, oh, by the way, let me tell you what else was amusing. He tried to say the reason he won't leave is because he doesn't want her to do something to these other. And I'm like, dude, you. I just thought it was funny. He tried to like sound like he's making this noble sacrifice. I'm gonna stay with this broad that treats me like trash and defames me and mischaracterizes me as this bad parent so that she doesn't take out her aggressiveness on these other people who don't have to see her anywhere near as often as I. Oh my god. What a hero, huh? Again, I don't have any sympathy for him, like at all. Why would a guy do that to himself? Euro, look at Euro. He's trying to sound like he came to some Beatles concert. Oh my God, I made it. If this guy isn't happy, might as well leave the relationship. No big. You know what? Um, I would agree with that, Brandon. But you got to remember, we're not talking about him when he was paying for her the storage unit. We're not talking about him when he was getting cheated on. We're not talking about him when he was getting cursed out while doing that specific nice thing for her. Now he has a kid with her. So that's the incentive to keep putting up with this because now you have a child with this person that always treated you like trash, but because the triangle is so appetizing, you put up with it for as long as you did until she spit out the kid, and you have an anchor. No big deal. Do you know damn well that if he leaves this person, which he won't, because again, men don't have 99 different chicks howling at them, and you're aware of that. He's going to be told, "I can't believe you didn't try to make it work for your child. How could you do this? What a sick person you are." Oh my god! That's why we call her the dingbat with the baby, because it was like, this is a really stupid person that got an even dumber man to just like always find a way to explain away every ridiculous thing she did. So yes, he is stuck with her. He's been stuck with her for what's going on 2 years now. Not good to be in a toxic relationship, not good for the kid in the long run. Well, like I said, man, people don't care about the children they make. I was going to do a whole video about the never-ending accidental pregnancy, and it was going to talk about how I have seen at least 6 or 7 different instances in my own lifetime of these like women who get with these men that they're not married to. And we have like stuff online that tells us about how chicks don't like condoms. Like they don't use them, not because they're planning on marrying this man, being with him forever, but because they just don't like the way it feels. Um, we have at least 6 or 7 different examples of women having kids with men they are not married to. And in the case of one person, they made the same error twice in less than 10 years. They had the fastest turnover of, this is my boyfriend. Let me have a kid with him. Now we're broken up. And then 5 years later, this is my boyfriend. Let me have a kid with him. So, it's as simple as that. I agree with the sentiment. It's bad for kid in the long run, but the problem is these people don't care about anyone but themselves. And it's even more ironic that I was called selfish for not talking to chicks anymore. But but apparently the people who have kids that they can't afford with people they don't want to stay with are not selfish. How many broken homes did I start? Can't even count them on one hand. None. try to demonize me over, and I want to talk to chicks, but then you're gonna let this slide. If he leaves, he's paying child support. Yeah, I mean, it's like this. Pick your poison, Brandon. Would you rather stay with this person who steals money from you and this kid, or leave her and then she uses the kid to like still extract stuff from you? Dude, people who say no, like no intercourse before marriage, that has a lot of merit to. And like I said, man, if people want to, I don't know why they don't just use condoms. Whatever. Really dumb, dude. You know what? I remember when I made the like video about the hookers being better than girlfriends. Every hooker I ever spoke to, in like trying to set something up with, always had condoms. That was what I thought was so funny. It's like, how are the people who it's their job to get banged like more responsible than people who are like, you get the joke that the people who are supposed to be very loose and promiscuous, they're more responsible than the people who, like, you get the idea. Like, it's like that is ridiculous. It's cheaper to have, yeah, dude. Imagine banging a hooker every year, right? Just like I don't know what someone's turnover for wanting to get screwed is, but like every year you do that. Guess what? She's never going to put you on child support. She's never going to have you paying for her stupid facility to keep her clothes in. Like, that's what I don't get about people glamorizing the ever living hell out of romantic relationships when we can prove that toxic stuff like this exists. And it's always done to men. How many mothers do you know on child support? I'll wait. I can't wait to hear this number. I'm gonna imagine it's pretty close to zero or -1. It's not even just less hassle that all this ridiculous year. I mean, this is like a saga. Like, remember how arcs contribute to a saga? Like, the first arc is him paying for the storage unit. The second arc is him, like finding out that she was like apparently cheating on him and he's getting cursed out while doing this and then living together. Third arc is them having this kid, and then now she's stealing stuff from him and also, talking trash about him as he's the provider. So yeah, it's just, I don't know how anyone looks at this and says it's not miserable, and every time I hear a new update, it always is it's garbage. That's what it put in. I'm free to do what I want whenever I want. Yeah. Dude, chicks can destroy a man's life, and like because he doesn't have a triangle, nobody cares. That's why I said you have to be really careful with like just broads in general, because people do spin this idea that these women will fall in love with you if you go to the gym and if you're a millionaire. It's like, guys, we've seen this game play before. Like, just an example. I don't know what you're saying LOL to. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be confrontational. Just tell me what it was. But just as an example, do you think you'd have to be a millionaire for your mother to love you, or your dad? Do you think you'd have to have muscles for your father to want to hang out with you, or your brother? Like, that's why I said that the chick stuff is people admitting that women are very, very shallow, a lot of them. That's why the advice they give you is shallow as hell, as well. And then they're surprised when you look at that and you say, well, this isn't really worth doing. Like, I don't, and that's why I said that for me, it seems like if you're a man, it's all designed around screwing you over, because like I said, there is no scenario where I'm with a woman and she's paying for me to have first of all, I don't need a place to keep clothes and anyway, but even if I did, she wouldn't be paying for it. Like, I'm not a financial burden on someone that decides to go on a date. It's just not the case. Isn't it sad that like chicks just to some people translate to, you will lose a bunch of money for someone that isn't worth a can of tuna? You know what I mean? Like, that broad bought him one pair of clothes or two pairs of clothes, as far as I can tell, and then he spent like hundreds of dollars, possibly thousands on just her having a place to put her stuff in. Like, how is that a fair trade? And I mentioned that she like that's why I always say that when you're a chick, it doesn't matter. Like she didn't even have a job, and he still accepted her for who she was. And it's like all they get are these like men that will bend over backwards for them. And then people tell you about how women have suffered and things are so hard for them. It's like nobody made her have a kid she couldn't afford. Just stuff that really just pisses me off because they always treat them like they're these little kids. But again, if something happens to me, you did that to yourself. They always find a way to defend chicks no matter what it is, every time. I tell you, I get stabbed by a woman, people are like, well, you probably looked at her the wrong way. And we know they would do that because they've done that in the past where they like invent a reason for something happening, the fan fiction. Very good points. I don't need to be jacked to be loved by my fam. Yeah. Well, I think there's that goes back to like the disconnect where I don't try to sell fairy tale BS. Like I would say that the majority of people someone would date would not love them simply because you don't have to be in love with someone to go on. I don't think you have to be, but people are so insane they might actually believe that now. But it's like, when they give this advice, like the self-improvement stuff, and it's not like the mental stuff like, oh, if you have high levels of confidence, that trash, uh, it's always some kind of like specific, what's the way of saying it? Some materialistic thing. And you never will see anyone on this goddamn website tell a woman that if she wants to get with the break Brandon or the eccentric Euro dollar, she has to have a 6 or 8 pack or go to the gym every day or any of this other trash because it's accepted that that stuff should not be the reason why someone wants to be with you. Like, how the hell is that love? So I said, man, you can't take these people seriously. And I do think a lot of chicks are just trying to get something out of men, and they're encouraged to do it by a lot of these people on the computer. Have this, have that, and then you're surprised that these groups exist of men not wanting to deal with broads anymore. It's like, yeah, if all they're going to do is just try to get something out of you, and then you're going to be attacked and accused of whatever for not acquiescing to their petulance. You're surprised. You look at that and say, yeah, this is not worth doing. Like I would rather, I said on another stream, I'd rather be single forever than be with a woman like that. It's like you were already a financial burden to this man before you had this kid. And now that you've had this kid, you're going to be one for him for the foreseeable future, for arguably the rest of his life. Um, it's like, how do people convince themselves that what's the way of saying it? They're like that's why I don't like this weird thing people do. You're too this to have a girlfriend. Like, who wants that? You know? Again, this is the longest lasting relationship I've seen out of two people my age, and it looks terrible. It looks like it's a broad that gets everything she wanted, gets accepted for who she is, and then the few times the guy ever shows a little bit of spine, she lashes out. How dare you not allow me to sit at the house and not do anything and get mad that I don't clean? How dare you get angry that I steal from you in your bank account? How dare you get angry that I curse you out while you pay for me to keep my stuff in a place? Like, who wants to be with someone like that? I'd really love to know. And dude, you might think to your because people like to invent reason to maybe she's very beautiful. I showed my best friend a picture of her. He laughed. He said, she's not ugly, and I don't think she is either, but I don't even think a supermodel would be like if you saw what I'm very confident that if I was someone who showed what people look like, you would say, wow, all that for someone that for that person. I wouldn't do this stuff for hell. A supermodel would actually be able to take care of herself. If she was successful, but you get the idea. It's just He needs to get out of that. Well, it's kind of hard to do that when you have a child with that person and you're worried about getting put on child support if you leave, which is why I said that. It's entrapment. Because again, nobody cares if you're a man about what happens to you. The idea that this person, who, despite his faults, his many faults that led him to where he is, uh, does try to make an effort to take care of his kid. This person is going to be put in a system that is supposed to punish men who have kids with women that don't care about them or don't like them anymore. So it's not as simple as that as it might sound. Just leave. It's like, yeah, but now he has a kid with this person. And you know how people portray men that like leave the kid. You're a deadbeat. You're in the, so it's not that simple. It used to be, two was it 3-4 years ago, he could have just walked away, which is what like I said, the minute somebody expects me to pay for some stuff that's not something I created, I start laughing. The only person who could maybe suckle off of me is like my little brother, and that's because he's a kid. But everybody else, no. Forget it. Especially not some random broad. Oh, she's so pretty. Yeah, we haven't seen that done a thousand times before. It's like, look at all these chicks that have a boyfriend. You really think her attractiveness is like some unique thing that, and I told you that when men are starved of attention by broads, they will take anything. Like that is just so depressing to me. To me, I think it's better to leave than to stay. Yeah, but again, if he has a kid with this person, and there's a very real possibility she'll put him on a child support. It's not as simple. What's the worst thing could happen to him if he? Well, I just mentioned it. Every time I hear about somebody getting put on that system, it sounds terrible. I can't wait to that video, the never ending accidental pregnancies. I told you, it's like, imagine wanting to be a dad to where you try to meet a woman that wants to, like, that you want to marry and have kids with and like stay with and work things out and compromise. And then you don't get any of that. And then like these people that just bang have kids and then they treat each other like trash after the kid is born. They want to talk to each other and just completely, like, that has happened so many times. It's not even fun. Like, this one is the only one I bring up recurringly, but I can think of at least 3 other instances of that happening. Like, it's always the same saga. They have a kid with this person. They're with each other for maybe like a year or two after that, or they break up before the kid's even born. Then they go and see other people and then talk trash about each other. And sometimes the same cycle repeats itself. I mean, it's like it never stops. And all these chicks do is just make broken homes. And then people try to say it's the men's fault because it's like, yeah, but chicks have more options. They get to pick and choose who becomes a parent by virtue of letting someone stick their banana inside of them. It's the men who chose. He couldn't do that if the woman didn't let, unless he, raped her. But that's not the majority of. Contrary to popular belief, that's not the majority of these interactions. Well, that's why I was saying, Brandon, that it's not easy to just walk away from this and not want to get drained. Like I mean, let's just call her what she is. She's basically Android 20 and 19. To stick her hand out and how does 19 sound a little clown, but I will have your energy, and then just grab him. History repeating itself. This cycle never. Oh, Megumi, you're gonna make a cameo in the video about the, like, why was it the self-improvement work on yourself crucible, because that Gertz person's comments are in there. There's like a whole 2-paragraph section laughing at him. You need to have high confidence levels, which are good for you, but then you also need to do this to find the best chance of getting a high quality relationship. So you should do this for yourself, but because I know that that's lame as hell, I'm going to try to incentivize you to do. So these people can't be consistent for 2 seconds. And like I mentioned in the video, it's like nebulous terms are when people say things that like have no defined meaning and they don't explain it. Like if I said speaking to women is a time wasting enterprise. Okay, what does that mean? We know you believe it wastes time. How so? What do they do that cause it to be a waste of time? And then I would explain that you'll speak to them, they'll say they like you, but all that trash, and then they don't actually do it. And then it's like, well, what was the point of doing any of that? I would give you specifics. And I mentioned that with that Gertz person, in one of his comments, he says you need to have a growth mindset instead of a fixed mind. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he'll get asked on streams that he apparently watches, judging by him commenting on them, what are you saying? And then won't elaborate. And that's why I said it's like, he's talking in riddles. If you have the mustache and the car, someone with the triangle will look at you from afar. It's like, what, what are you saying? Like, who is this triangle part? Like, that's how, when he writes stuff, that's how I see it, because there's no explanation. Yeah, it's gonna be a little tiny part where we read your comment. Because usually I use that's the funny thing I always thought about with the romance videos. Like, I don't even have to like use my own experiences as examples. I can just go online and be like, this person said this person said that. No, that little like pink circle on his hand, he grabs you. That's what she's gonna be for him if he leaves her. She's gonna have him on child support. And then when his check comes and he's like glance, you know what? What's the name of that? Okay, so Parasite, the Superman villain, the one that touches Superman and gets his energy. So the guy is Superman because he's the one that goes to work and takes care of the kid. And then she's Parasite because she grabs him and absorbs his energy, which is his resources. And she's been doing this to him for years. And like I said, she can keep on doing it because she's a woman. So that guy, he is literally a walking contradiction every time he leaves a comment on any of your videos or streams. Yeah, and it's like I would ask on the stream because he did show up on like 2 streams. Like, what are you saying? And there's no explanation. It's just this. If he explains a point, it's a contradiction. If he doesn't explain a point, it's a riddle. So you either get a riddle or a contradiction. But you're left usually more confused by what he writes, and that's going to be a big point of the self improvement stuff being ridiculous. Like, some people who push that are talking about mental stuff, like, oh, you have to have more, which is stupid because it's like you don't know how much confidence someone has by watching a video. People have a public persona where they come on camera and they might act differently now they do in real life, but also mind over matter. If it's truly as like, because these people are basically saying if you think something won't happen, it won't happen, but that infers that every time you approached a woman you thought it wouldn't work, which is not the case. Certainly not for me anyway. So if you think it will happen, that doesn't mean it will. We know that because there have been times where I thought it would work and it wouldn't. It didn't, rather. But then if you don't think it'll work, it won't work. So how is one side an insta fix? If you don't think it will work, it won't work. But then the other side is like a chance thing that no one can predict, where you believe in yourself, it still doesn't matter. I remember the first 3 chicks I ever approached all went to school with me, and there was like a gradual evolution of how much harder it became to get them to like want to do anything. Like the first chick I ever approached, I mentioned this before, I went to school with for 5 years. I used to talk to whatever, and that's why I thought it would work out or that the person would be interested back, because I had spent such a large amount of time with them still compared to really anybody else I've tried to go on a date with. And I asked them for their number. They instantly gave it to me. And then, that's kind of stuff makes you think, oh, maybe this person actually likes you. And then the next one I approached when I was in 8th grade, and we were Facebook friends. I asked her for her number, and she sends me the number and then puts at the end of it Y, which is like, oh, this is going to be more difficult. And sure enough, And then the one from ninth grade, I asked her for her number. She didn't give it. So you see how like it kept get like the first one gives you it without any questions asked. The second one gives it to you but asks why, which is really stupid. Like, why would you give the number and then ask why the person wants it? You're so curious. And then the third one is like, no. Oh my god. And so I told you, man, this chick stuff, it goes back a long time. Just and people have been pushing this confidence stuff for as long as I can remember. And it's like, you dumb bastards, you really think that someone who got rejected that many times go, I'm sure the next time it'll work out. The last 70 times it didn't, but I'll just keep on trying. Like, it's basic pattern recognition skills. What you think about yourself, it's just your opinion. How others perceive you matters a lot more. No, I'm saying that I don't have a problem with people trying to believe in themselves, but don't say because dude, you're gonna get accused of not having confidence, not because you do something like if I came on here and I said I'm such a piece of garbage, man. But you're going to get accused of that as long as you're not with a woman. Like literally, if you can approach 300 chicks, and if they say no, after you thought they would say yes, or you spoke of why they should say yes, you're still going to get accused of that because it's not about what you do. It's about you getting rejected. It has to. That's why I said it's like it's your fault for what these women do. You have to take responsibility for someone else's decision. Because again, if I rejected a woman, nobody's going to say she probably had low confidence. That's why the great video maker Justin decided. No, they're going to say, "Hey, forget him. That's one person going." And they're not going to sit here and play this analyzing game of trying to figure out what someone's mental state is and if they need therapy and all. You get the idea that it's that's why I call it a crucible because it's something you're never going to be able to get over as far as like these people just nitpicking the ever living hell out of you because their nitpicks are all tied to what they perceive as you having to have some fatal flaw for not getting with the woman, even if the same issue. Basically, they'll sooner say that every man who gets rejected doesn't have confidence than they'll say that yeah, these chicks are just turning down every goddamn body, which is why there are whole groups of men that are. And like I said, every time I see a romance between people my age, it sucks. Like the one I was with, Gold Digger, treat was nice to me for a whole month and then turned into again the biggest gold digger in US history. It was a really nice persona that she played and then transformed once you decided to be her boyfriend or whatever, she peeled off her Decepticon insignia and then she started acting evil and being a terrorist. But the other one is the stuff with the dingbat with the baby, who is I already gave the reasons for why that sucks for the guy. It's great for the broad, but it's terrible for the man because that's how these relationships are. It's not 50-50, it's 95-5, where the chick does just a teeny little bit of stuff and then you have to jump through a trillion hoops. And then if it's not one of those two, which involve the woman trying to suckle you off for money, it's a bunch of chicks trying to suckle you off for attention while not giving you what you want. I don't have a problem with that either. It's good to be confident, but if your experiences show that you keep getting rejected, you're probably going to have. But it's not about low self. Look, you have to have, and these bastards will never give you credit for anything. You have to have some confidence, some, to go out and because they always say he probably didn't approach because he was scared. It's like you wouldn't approach this many chicks if you didn't believe there was a chance or that it was a waste of time, whatever. Like you don't still do it and then think, oh well, I guess this will never happen. But that's why I said they always use the decisions of women as a manner to critique or otherwise do these psychological analysis, and it's all just a waste of time. Basic pattern recognition skills. That's all we are going off from. And dude, it's like imagine if a broad got molested by like 10 men straight, right? Nobody would tell her, you're going to get molested by another man because you think that it's going to happen again. It's like, no, she has basic power. Like she's looking at a pattern and saying this will probably happen again because it kept happening. But, like her thinking that doesn't make another man do it. Like you're not like if you go and approach, you're not going to morph into a molester because she thinks that's what will happen with the next man she speaks to, just just offhandedly. You get what I'm saying? Of how like you thinking something will happen does not like if you speak to some woman for 2 or 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever, and she's telling you, "Oh, you mean so much to me. We have a connection." Blah 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 blah. And at the end of that, she's like, "Oh, but I only like you as a friend." How did you thinking this will not work out make her decide? Yeah, I'm not interested in going on a date. It's like it's why I said they make me sound like Professor X. You will go on a date. You can't make someone like you, but you listen to these bastards. We're going to show you how to develop telepathy. I'm going to do a stream in a wheelchair, a little suit, pay some kids to dress up in yellow and black costumes. And you know that is happening to other men since we're all told the same advice to go out of our way for women. LOL, mind over matter at its finest. Yeah, but like I said, with the guy I used to talk to, it's like it boosts your morale, right? It makes you think you can do something, but it cannot make other people do things. Like if I decide I'm going to call this person every year, or excuse me, I'm going to call this person every day. I can decide to do that because all it takes to call someone is me clicking a button on my phone, just me deciding that. But to actually have a conversation with them requires the other person. So I can call them every day with the intent of having a conversation or talking just a little bit each day. But if they don't respond, I can't speak to them every day. So you see how that other person's decision and the actions they take and the moves they make contribute to me not getting all of what I would like out of trying to speak to them. Once you apply logic to the dating scene, having confidence doesn't even matter. I don't even know what that means because, like I said, all they're gonna every time you get rejected by someone, you must have had low confidence. You must not believe in yourself. You must have had this personality. Just it's always your fault. That's why I said I want to draw a picture of myself hanging from a cross because that's what this chick stuff is. You're just getting crucified by these people who've never met you, so they have to criticize a woman ever. That would be a hell of a picture. I'm just on the cross. I got like a little what do you call it? The staple in my hand. You see a little blood on the side. I would draw that and make that like a background for like one of the videos, and then using it. But this is too graphic. It's like you don't tell me it's too graphic when you have literal porn videos on this website. You have videos of people getting shot, and they had another video where a guy jumped off a building, and you see him like smack on the floor and hear the noise, and like, damn, this website is just so hypocritical. They got this Zapruder film on here. It's like, are you serious? What dating scene? This is the romance fairy tale comic book. Oh, I brought that up again earlier. Like, I really do want to do that video because I mentioned that like chicks have plot armor, like romance plot armor, where like if a man did what they did, he'd be criticized, but since they have the special triangle, they don't get criticized. I don't believe any effort has to be put in. Dude, also, like, look at these chicks. What effort do they put in? They just go on a website and someone goes, "Hey, I think you're hot. Do you want to talk?" That's it. Just like that broad, that gold digger. I didn't approach her. I was on a dating, which I'll never use again. I was on a dating website and she sent me a message. Effort. Dude, I even had some guy on my video, the one that wrote, not the Tony person, but the other one that wrote several paragraphs on one of my streams. He made a cameo in the why do men get rejected over and over video, and he tried to actually say that women have to conform to standards. I'm like, no, they don't. I don't see anyone telling a woman that's overweight, you will be single forever. You're too fat to. No one ever says that. No one tells them to go to the gym. No one says you need to improve your physique. None of that stupid trash. Because it's accepted that they can be different from each other and still find people that want, men rather, that want to go on dates with them. So it's like, you know, it's so stupid. And I even have this point in the video. It's like people don't know what these chicks I approach look like. In some cases, if I was on Reddit, I didn't know what they look like either. But it's like, imagine going to the gym every day, right? The muscle thing these people like talk about, and then the woman that agrees to go on a date with you is 300 pounds. Does that sound fair? Does that sound anywhere like remotely like, yeah, that makes sense? To go on a date with someone that is literally twice my size, I have to go to the gym to such an extent because most people that go to the gym don't have muscles. I have to go to the gym to such an extent that I have this improved, amazing physique for a person that looks like a certain form of boo that is introduced first. Hey, I told you when a woman is overweight, body positivity. When a man is not even overweight, just not like doesn't have muscles, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym. It's fully one-sided and but Megumi, do you see how like chicks have various differences to them physically, right? And like as far as other things as well. And people act like the stuff you do that's supposed to improve you is going to be represented in the woman as well that might go on a date. So, like I mentioned before, if you're a millionaire or well off or whatever other definition of wealthy you'd like to describe, why do you have to go? Like, why should you settle for going on a date with women who don't have a pot to piss in? You know, like that guy, he's way better off than that chick. She doesn't even work anymore. So it's like, what? Why does he have to settle for someone like that? Why does he have to accept this person no matter what while not being accepted at all unless he fits a very stringent, tightly defined, narrow set of rules that people on the computer are espousing? Okay, last time I checked, women aren't expected to do anything for nothing. I got people crying about my glasses, about my. I've never seen a single man on this whole planet tell a woman, I like everything about you except the fact that you wear spectacles. That's such a big turnoff for me. I've never seen them say that in private conversations either. Like I know plenty of chicks that wear glasses and they're with someone. So it's like, what are you talking about? Same thing with the necklace. I've never seen a man turn down a woman because of her shirt or accessory. Like, what the hell? Dude, there's this one no, I'm not gonna say it. Somebody had a necklace of bullets and they and they had a kid. It's like, what is that? Yeah, I know it's really doesn't make any sense and it's criminally unfair. And that's why I say in the video that they're not when they make these like demands, right? These things you have to do, they're putting you as a physical person up against their idealized version of a woman, right? This like beautiful individual who is well off and has such a great, amazing body and personality. And again, you're never going to be able to compete with their idealized version of a woman because if these are straight men, they're not going to find you as attractive as her in any instance, which they shouldn't. But like I'm not going to tell someone a woman's out of your like I've mentioned before. I never have told another man a woman's out of their league at any point because I'm not a prick. That's up for her to decide, not me. Um, and when you're not able to live up to their unrealistic fantasy, they start lashing out. You don't go to the gym. Well, neither does she. But again, you can't see her and you can see me. You want to defend her, this remember the idealized version, so much that you're gonna tell this actual person you can see, why can't you live up to my unrealistic fantasy? Dude, like no one ever questions the homoeroticism of having a bunch of men tell you a woman is prettier than you. What do you expect? You're supposed to be straight. That's what they have, Eurodollar. Would be another example. Let's say I have a story, right, where there's like a grandpa who doesn't let anyone curse around him, right? And I say early in the story, the only person that curses around him and gets away with it is his grandson. So his grandson comes around and he curses. That's not plot armor because it's explained, right? Like it's given a specific reason in the story for why it happens, and also, it's mentioned before it even happened. So there's like it's established as being consistent with what was told of us before. But if I have a story where he won't let anybody curse around him, and then this one person curse around, he doesn't react at all, whatever, that's plot armor. Because they're supposed to be affected by it in the same way as everybody else, but they don't. Just cause. Just like with this chick stuff, I'll defend a woman if she actually makes sense. Like we've had cases where chicks get murdered by their all kind of like horrible. I'll defend them, but like sitting here and talking to some man that you're not interested in month after month, and then I've got men online trying to crucify me because I said that I don't want to talk to me anymore. I think it's nuts. I think it's really insane it's this hard to get a date. I think that it's really insane that if you push back, like that's why I don't like the romance groups, because I'm someone that has lived in the real world and spoken to other men about how ridiculous chicks are, and I see men who have been way more successful with chicks than myself in real life talk about them, and nobody says they're part of a group. Like, it's so weird that now when you criticize them, especially if you do it online, because I don't see anybody calling somebody the I word in real life, but if you do it online, you have to be part of some team. And it's like, it just seems if everything relating to chicks is a hassle, like there's nothing good that comes out of talking to them. Because even the one guy that's with one, he's lost so much money. And it's like, I would hate a woman if she did that to me. I really despise her. I'd hope every bad thing that could happen to a person happened to her if she did that to me. So I understand why he does it, because I mentioned before the reasons for it, but it still is nasty as all hell. They are allowed to be different and however they want, while the guys are told to improve in physique and look the same like stormtroopers, since every guy is told to do the same. Yeah, this is, we might as well just stop calling this real life. This is just the Star Wars world. We're all clone troopers. All wear the same, all think the same, all have the same voice. I had a guy complain about and I was like, I have never once seen a man turn down a woman because he didn't like her voice. Dude, you have chicks that have accents. I know a broad that has a channel where she doesn't show her face and she does this breathy voice, and all these men think it's so hot for some stupid reason that doesn't make any sense. And she still is like, nobody complains about them having different voices. Nobody says they all have to sound deep or high or whatever. Like, it's so weird. They get to be whatever they want, just completely unique from each other, diverse, right? But if you're a man, you got to fit into this tight, stringent, boxed up persona of what these people want on the computer. And like I said, you're never going to be good enough for these pricks. If you're single, they will always find a way to make it your fault. You could talk to 1,000 chicks and they would say, well, there's something wrong with you if all these broads turn you down, even though we have a bunch of men who have also had the exact same experience, but there's something wrong with all of them. Because again, it's always the fault of the man. Every time, no matter what. I'm surprised when it rains, they don't say it's my fault. That's why I did the stream, the most blamed man of all time. I told you, go to the gym, you become a millionaire, and you have trouble, you are still single. Not even a millionaire, but like you just because people, you can't just wake up one day and then decide to be rich. Like there's a process to it. But you earn more money, whatever, and you become physically fit and all the rest of that trash. The next thing they're gonna say, if you're still not with someone, you're probably short, you're probably too ugly, because again, it never stops. It's always your fault, and it's literally they're asking you to play a game that is rigged. you know, Dude, the way they act reminds me. If anyone here has ever played Marvel Ultimate Alliance, they have a level where you go up against Modok and he has you answer these like trivia history questions. And I was a little kid when I played this game with my dad, so I didn't really know that much about some of the events. And if you get it wrong, he says incorrect, and then you have to fight him. And if you get the questions right, enough of them, he'll say you cheated. So it's rigged, where because you're gonna have to fight him anyway. But it's rigged to where if you get it wrong, it's bad. If you get it right, it's bad. So that's how these guys are. They're like Modok. They have if you do what they want you to do and you still end up with someone, oh, you must have done something wrong to screw up this amazing, great romance aficionado advice I gave you. And if you don't do what they want you to do, they say, oh, this is why you're so. No matter what you do, and regardless of it, as long as the woman says no, it could be any reason in the world, it's going to be your fault because it's rigged against you. Would you still be single if you had six figures? I don't, well, look, like I said, um, first of all, most people don't own that. First of all, secondly, to say that money fixes the issue, like that guy is the perfect example. Look at how much money he lost over that broad, and like, do you really want to be with someone that that again likes you not because of who you are, because oh he has uh triple digits as what he makes every year? Like, who wants to be with a gold digger? That's appealing to you? Like I said, people do things. They do things and they say things I don't understand. None, unless she really likes you and all the. She really likes you out of all the men. That's the most insane thing about this. I'll seriously just let her be. I wouldn't even bother trying to speak to her if I knew that. Exactly. When that broad told me she had too many messages to handle, I offered to leave her alone, and she was like, "No, stay, stay." They say get rich so they can leech off you, and it's scary because they're doing this to guys that aren't even rich. Like he, God, he has lost so much through his relationship with her. And that's why I said that like the chick stuff is such a just frustrating scenario because you have people who actually think you're supposed to make these big sacrifices to be with someone. And it's like, if you flip the genders, if I said that, oh, if I'm with a woman, she's gonna have to pay for like I would get laughed at. People would say, you're not worth doing that for. Look at you. But again, if you have the triangle, prepare for some hoop jumping in your favor. You have 30 guys trying to approach one woman, which, well, see, I told you in the video, that's why they don't mention that because they all, when like, it's hard to say it's all your fault when there's what's the way of saying, when a woman has a surplus of men in the oversaturated market, because then that entails there being external factors because you can't control how many men a woman speaks to. And they know that, so they have to pretend that's not that. Like every time you talk to a broad, you're the only person or one of two people she's talking to, so it's easier to say, oh yeah, you did something wrong, this other person had more confidence, blah 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 blah. Like, damn, I can't even talk to this broad because she's got 30 other whatever. That's my fault too. So yeah, this stuff is absolutely insane. And I really think about the only people I see that have kids and like are still able to get somebody to like want to date them or chicks pretty much. Like I know a bunch of chicks that have kids with other men and they still are able to get a man to like want to talk. And it's again, I don't get it because like I said, I don't need to be burdened or bogged down by that stuff. Getting blamed for this decisions that other people make. Yeah. Just like if you don't get hired by somewhere, it's your fault too. If they don't want to schedule an interview to even give you the chance to impress them, it's your fault as well. If you can't learn how to make whatever type food, and remember this, on your first day of doing it, and then they threaten to fire you and then get rid of you a few days later, it was your fault as well. You're supposed to transform in this 1, 2, 3 hour shift. Dude, I'll never forget that Saturday. I walked out of there just so pissed off, man. I have very seldom wanted to just curse someone out on the spot, and it takes I show a lot of restraint usually, but it's the kind of stuff that because it's like I'll never not believe that was unfair. It's just no one's going to convince me that that wasn't. regardless that you don't have any control over whatsoever, it still is your fault, as if you aren't already disappointed with the results you got from the woman. Yeah, they had insult to injury. Like, first it's disappointing to have the person say they don't want to do this, then you have to have people accuse you of being in control of her mind and making her do this. Like I said, the way you know this stuff is screwed up is when you, like, I remember James was trying to say, well, I don't think it's either person's fault if they don't want to go. It's like, dude, you know, based off the way people act toward me on here and have acted toward me on here for years, that if I came on here and said I am single and I have rejected 40, it could be 10, it could be 20, 30, 40, 50, however many chicks, I would get blamed for why I was single, because everyone that showed interest in me, I said no to. I'd get blamed because I made the decision to not go on a date with people that were willing to go on a date with me. But when the genders are reversed and it's chicks doing this to men, oh, it's your fault for not appealing to her enough. So I said, when you're part of my rogues gallery, you can find a woman innocent in the same scenario you'd find me guilty. And that's how we know that it's all based around never criticizing the holy, magic, wonderful chick ever. Exactly. So why can't the same logic be applied to the opposite gender? Exactly. And I told you that, it's even crazier when you consider that, like, going back to Disneyland stuff of this, you're never going to see, unfortunately, and this is my true belief. You can do things that other people, that like women might find attractive, right? Like, you can go to the gym, you can become famous, whatever, but most chicks, and we know this based off of what's been written in other places as well, do not approach men they find attractive. So a woman that becomes famous will actually, and if she's single especially, will actually have men who try to talk to her that aren't famous. But a man that, does something of great noteworthiness, or not even just that, but like is in some location where some woman thinks he's attractive, she will very seldom actually say the first word to him, because they're cowards. But again, nobody will criticize them for being cowards, because since men are so outgoing, and are conditioned to try and get what they want by, being assertive, they get away with being cowards. They can sit there like a little princess in the castle waiting for this man to swoop in and save them. But the other way around, nope. But again, if you want to sit there and wait for some woman to show up, as people like to say on here, you'll be waiting forever. Just let love come find you. Yeah. The way these bastards act, where they're online having like 10 guys talking to them at once. Yeah. Not even 10. That one on Reddit had 50, the other one had 90, or around 90. She said that number sounded accurate. So between those two chicks, they had around 140 men approach them. And you're gonna tell me that it's all my fault and you should have been able to stand? Man, get out of here. Go argue with the wall. So that's seven. So like that's around 70 guys trying to talk to one broad. Like, if you tally it and split it, I have never heard anyone on here address this the way you do. Yeah, and that's why I don't like the I word, because like I don't see myself represent, like, the whole point of doing the romance stuff was because I didn't see my view represented by other people that talked about it. I saw people giving advice. Oh, here's what you do, but I didn't see anyone said, hey, what if that advice doesn't work? What if there are factors that are out of your control? What if this is happening to so many men that they have entire groups based around getting sick and tired of getting the same result from chicks? What if it isn't just someone says, oh, I'm not interested? They sit there and they play with you for weeks and months and hype and build you up to thinking they like you, and then all of a sudden it's a reverse. The red herring, the plot twist. I'm telling you that they really found a way to make a plot twist not even like, when I got rejected when I was in seventh grade, I couldn't believe it. I just sat there in disbelief. I was like, what? Are you serious? But when I got to like 10th, 11th, I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Same as it ever was. This guy said talking to chicks is like being Ash from Pokemon, where every like couple seasons he goes to the league and tries to win. He's like, this time I'm going all the way, and then he loses. And he's like, better luck next time. So damn, that's a good comparison. Every time he goes to league, he loses. And there's like several seasons of gathering a team and rivals and building up, and it's like so like the chicks are the league. They're this thing that people expect you to put an extraneous amount of time into winning, and then you use your like basic kind of recognition skills to know, hey, I lost. For him, it's not that many, but like the last several of these, so I'm probably not going to win the next one. You don't believe in yourself, and then when you lose the next one, you probably didn't believe yourself, and that's probably why you didn't win. No, you know what? When I because like Brock meets random chicks and says I'm interested, and you know they say they're not interested back, and there actually are a couple that he that were interested in him. Like I remember one of the Frontier Brains. I don't remember her name. She has black hair from season 9. She liked him back, and then like because she's a video game character, they don't intend on using it again. It didn't go the way it wanted, but no, Brock meets random chicks and says some of them in each episode. We're talking about the way these people describe romance is that you're supposed to go on this arduous adventure to get like basic tiny bits. Yeah, Lucy. Um, to get like basic tiny bits of stuff from chicks, right? So they like it's not just go and approach different. It's like, no, you need to go to the gym and you need to like all this training and all this different stuff. Again, to maybe that's why I compared it to the league, because it's like several all this build up for nothing. No, I always remember her. I was like, wow, one of them actually liked him back, and they're not going to use her again because of the toy commercial nature of this show. Damn. Yeah, I miss Brock. I don't know why they got rid of him. That was stupid. Like when they got rid of him during Orange Islands, that was dumb, and when they got rid of him after Sinnoh, that was dumb. Yeah, I didn't really watch it after Owen because I didn't like that they got rid of the original voice actors for some other people. The only voice actor they kept is the one that does not Blue, Gary's voice. Yeah, the rival, who's barely even in the show anyway, so you wouldn't notice. I know they, well, yeah, but I'm saying like as a permanent member of the main cast, I think they made a mistake in not keeping them around because like I think when they get rid of a character, usually the person they replace them with is like a crappy substitute. Like the reason you don't see Tracy that much is because nobody likes him. He was just Brock, except without the supposed racial stereotype thing that they were worried about. I always remember at the end of season 1, I'll come back for you, Pidgeot, and then he never gets Pidgeot back. just he's somewhere off in the forest for the last 20 years. A lot of people did Megumi. I don't know what's wrong with those stupid writers. Dude, if you look at some of the like conceptual stuff for that show, it is funny. Like the GS ball was gonna have Celebi inside of it, and then they were like, nah, let's save that for the movie. And then they were like, we'll just leave it with this person in Johto and hope that people forget about it. And then they didn't. And then we just kind of said, oh well, whatever. And then they were gonna have when Hoenn was being, I guess, produced or made, they were thinking of either getting rid of Misty or Team Rocket, and then they got rid of her, and then people like do wonder what would Hoenn have looked like if they kept Misty and had like a new villainous team. I don't know. It just seems like Team Rocket's been with the show so long. It just seems weird, like the idea that you just get rid of them, like, oh well, whatever, let's throw them away. Yeah, that's what I'm saying about how like um the like male character that replaces Brock, I don't or the male ones that replace him, I don't think work. Like Misty and May are different enough from each other to where the only reason people said she was her replacement is because she is also female. But you get the idea that like all the other guys, they're very bland to me. No, it wasn't a one-time gag. They had a whole saga with that thing where he just carrying it around, and that was supposed to have Celebi in it. And then they said, no, we're not going to use that in the show. We're going to keep it for Pokemon Forever. So was that the name of the movie? The fourth one. Yeah. Uh, so that's why they didn't have it actually get resolved in the show. They just left it with Kurt, and that was it. And then for the fifth movie, they were going to have that be canonical with the show, like how the first one was, and have what is it, Latias, whichever one is the red one, Latios or Latios, whatever, join Ash as like a member of his team in Johto. But then they thought him having a legendary would make him too strong, so they canned it, which really does suck because I like his. That's like the only legendary we actually get to see him just be friends with, you know, whatever. Like Mewtwo was evil for most of that movie. Entei was a jerk. You know, like it's crazy. I remember at the end of the movie where she turns into the chick and kisses him, and then people are like, "I wonder if that was her, or if that was Latias transforming." It's like it's so obviously the Pokemon. Like he doesn't even talk to that woman. Man, fans always find a way to like make stuff that isn't even like that's so obvious. Like, I wonder if this happened. Like, no, the film itself sets it. Whatever. Believe what you want. I'm not going to argue with these people. Man, if I didn't make my own show, I would make a Pokemon show where like the main character catches them all, like every single one. Because remember, that used to be a tagline: "Got to catch them all," and then he barely caught any of them. And then anytime the legendary shows up, there's like a whole 2 episodes of like trying to catch that thing, and it's all of them working together. That would be it would be really different from the anime or the one that we have. Dude, you know what's funny about her is that like I remember the show's online community like back when Hoenn was still going on because that was my first was really on the computer with this stuff. And I remember that like every chick in that show used to get paired with Ash. And then like the writer's like, all right, let's just make one of them actually like him, you know. Like, oh, this person said this in this episode, so they have a crush on this person. Are you talking about the movie Heroes or Forever? Heroes is the one with Latias. Forever is the one with Celebi. I was saying that in that movie it ends with the chick kissing Ash, and people think it's her, but it's actually Latias because there's no like Ash barely interacts with her. As I was saying that like people debate if it was the chick or I forget her name, and then our Latias transformed as her when we saw Latias transform as her like twice before that and spend more time with Ash than the woman did. The GS ball. Oh, you can have that. Yeah. Do a lot of these characters have the same names? Like, isn't there a Bianca in black and white with like blonde hair? That's why it's hard to remember a lot of the characters' names because they have this thing called character of the day where it's a character that shows up in one episode and then never again, which I always hated because you know some of them have interesting personalities or teams or whatever. So that was that's what that show is. Now Megumi on before my stream got I yanked it because it was unstable. I was talking about how for Naruto they build up this villainous organization and like they look really cool, have all these unique powers, and then every time one of them shows up, except for maybe like three of them, they get they get like a little flashback scene or two, and then they get killed off. Like they have like one or two fights max. They're around for maybe like 20, 30 chapters, and then and I was like, wow, this is really kind of and I had people defend like, but Naruto always kills off its villains. Well, except for Orochimaru and Kabuto, who managed to survive the entire series. Dude, that's why Boruto is so boring. It's like you killed off all of the like good villains, so now there's there's nothing. This world needs to just be resolved. There's no conflict anymore. That reminds me of when they did when Bendis did Ultimate Spider-Man. So after he killed off Peter, he had all like most of the main villains die, and then like he couldn't make a good villain to save his life. Like I thought he was gonna try to make new villains for Miles, kind of like how Batman Beyond made new villains for Terry as Batman, and it was terrible. I was like, oh my god. But see, that's why I said people kill off characters to be like these little edgy bastards, and they never think about the long term ramifications that can have on their own story. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a show worth watching after Boruto came along. I can't speak for the show. I just read some of the manga, and it's really not that exciting. But you get the idea that they had all of these interesting, cool villains, and instead of keeping them around, they're like, "Nah, we'll get rid of you, and then we can do our sequel show with lamer characters." Like all of the kids of the main of not the main cast, but like of the characters from the original Naruto manga are just clones of their parents. So it's like, what was the point of making them? Hey, Megumi, imagine if in like Z, instead of Toriyama continuing to use Bulma like he did in the original, he decides to like have her have a kid, a daughter who acts exactly like her. It's like, then what's the point? Why not just keep using Bulma if you're just going to use someone that is the exact? Because at least Goku and Gohan, they have slight physical differences, and Gohan has his own powers. He has different relationship with Piccolo than Goku had. There's specific different trails that he blazes, and Z really doesn't add any new characters that are to the main cast outside of Gohan and Vegeta. So it's like it's so weird to me that for Boruto he's like, yeah, let's just make everybody have a kid for some reason and then have them just be a clone of their parent. Woohoo. We got more clones in Boruto than we had in the Clone Saga. Dude, for that women's many options video, I used a panel from the Clone Saga where it's like Ben Riley goes into he's like Peter's most famous clone. He goes into this room and it's a bunch of Spider-Man clones. He's like, what the hell? That's what Boruto is. Everybody walking around that's not from the original, just a clone of somebody. Like Boruto's design already speaks for that. Like he looks nothing like his mom, which I didn't know that's how genetics work, where you just look like one parent. Um, and has like nothing. He doesn't even have her move the whatever that thing is with the bug eye thing. Bakugan, I think. I don't know, whatever that is. And then the creator came out and said, "Oh yeah, Boruto was supposed to have that, but I forgot." Man, we can't make him have traits similar to both of his parents, so let's just have him be a complete clone. Like Naruto might as well just spit out an egg like King Piccolo. Remember? Go, my son. At least Piccolo has like a different bone structure. Like he has a reason to look like his dad. He's his literal reincarnation. All the rest of them, no way. Too many characters have been killed off too. Yeah, that's my point. That like all they do is kill people off, and especially in Shippuden, they'll kill you off after not doing anything with you. They kill off Shikamaru's teacher after not doing anything with him. They have Jiraiya show up at the start of the series of Shippuden rather, then do nothing until he goes on this mission against Pain and gets killed. They have Neji, a character who was really explored and had multiple fights during part one, do nothing throughout all of Shippuden other than talk and fight like a clone of one of the Akatsuki, get killed for a stupid relationship that barely any time was spent on in the first place. Like, it's really lame. You know, it's just, I don't know, it sucks. But again, Shippuden's so amazing and great. It's like, I really like part one. I think it was a pretty solid show about a ninja that was like unknown and was making himself more known by hard work. And, you know, he had this demon inside him, sure, but he had to like overcome things with effort. And then we find out that he's a reincarnation of this person. And, you know, his daddy was, it's, you know, it's stupid. I'll always praise part one, but part two is it starts to go, because like with part two, most of the villains that get killed off like right after being introduced aren't even that big. Like the Sound Ninja are just, or Sound Four, excuse me, are basically just henchmen for Orochimaru, who still like has an overarching plot and is kind of like in multiple. That's why I said Naruto feels like a fragmented series to me. Like events happen, or events are supposed to be more important than characters. Like if you're not Naruto or Sasuke, and then or maybe like Shikamaru or Gaara or Kakashi, they don't do that much with you. We're gonna kill you off as opposed to just keeping you around so we can do something interesting with you. And then we're going to introduce a character that's less liked and then be like, whoa, damn, what are we supposed to do now? Dude, every time I meet people that say they like Sasuke, I don't understand it at all. That like if my computer didn't have such a lack of space on it, I would make a whole hour-long video about why that is the worst character ever created in all of fiction. God, he is just a vacuum that sucks up the screen time and interest of everybody around him. Sounds very much like a show called yeah. Dude, Super just complete. That's why I said that, like, you know, the voice acting for the Dragon Ball show I was talking about did really stifle me on it, but I like the premise of it's Earth in that year where Goku wasn't around, and it's up to Gohan, Piccolo, and Krillin, and then sometimes Tien, sometimes Shiatsu, sometimes Yamcha to save the day. I like that because it wouldn't be focused on one character. And if we do use someone who's not part of the big three, they're not going to show up to get killed off or embarrassed. You know, like it's really irritating. The Goku and Vegeta show. Imagine having a universe with dozens of different characters with interesting personalities and powers, and then all you can do is use the same two over and over again. Like they use Frieza more in that show than probably any character that's not Goku, Vegeta, Whis, or Beerus. And it's like that was, you know, Frieza was before Super decided to suck him off so much, a villain that had a lot of personal ties to Goku, but was just there for like, you know, one arc and then killed off and then, you know, replaced by you know, Bugman. It's like, you know, they really made him into this never-ending threat. And I'm like, I don't care about him anymore, man. Get rid of him. Because most of the time he shows up, he's not doing anything I find interesting. Like uh outside of the tournament of power, the rest of the time that he's around, just like go away. Do you think Krillin had to message 18 for months before she went on? I don't. Well, that's how lovely Toriyama is. Every time characters get together, it's because of the magic time skip. It's like Vegeta and Bulma have no interactions together, hardly, damn near, before Trunks shows up, and then they have a baby. Oh, magic time skip relationship. Hey, that's his favorite tactic to get out of writing a developing romance. The magic time skip. Do you know what's been funny? Because 19 and 20 were originally supposed to be the androids from Trunks' timeline before I mentioned the editor said we don't want these damn you know, this clown and this old man, this geezer as the antagonist. Wouldn't it have been hilarious or like actually good foreshadowing if, because Trunks says, "Oh, I'll be born a year or whatever from now." Wouldn't it have been interesting if instead of him actually being born, there's like, if Vegeta does have a kid, it's with someone else, or if Bulma has a kid, it's with someone else. Like if it actually, that's like the first sign that this is not the same timeline as his. That like things are not set in stone. Wouldn't that have been cool? Because like present Trunks, they don't do anything with. He's Go Tanks Part Two, and like you know what I'm saying? Like they made a second version of that character who was completely forgettable. The only time they do anything interesting with Kid Trunks is movie 13, the one with Hirudegarn, Dragon Fist, and then which is whatever, and then a little bit of the Future Trunks saga where they have him interact with Future Trunks and his dad a little bit. Even then, that still is barely anything. And it's like, how the hell are you in the whole show and you have a smaller role than someone who's in one arc? Like they don't let Kid Trunks train with Beerus. They don't let him hang out with Vegeta. They don't let him fight Black with Future Trunks and Vegeta. They don't let him participate in the tournaments. Like just nothing. That is so lame. And he's not even my favorite character. And I was like, that would have been so cool seeing like a Saiyan kid who's that strong, just power. Because we don't really have in shonen like dads that are around that much, like around their kid that much. Because even with Z, Goku and Gohan are mostly not around each other. So it's like you could have actually had this unique interaction with Kid Trunks and Vegeta of like a dad wanting to train with his son, wanting to improve his son, having pride in it, and nothing. They barely talk to each other. You would really think Vegeta was childless. Like if it weren't for those little scenes where they go back to Capsule Corp, you would forget. No, imagine how much of a shock that would have been if like, oh, this is my kid with whoever the hell. It's like it's not Vegeta. That would have been terrific foreshadowing, and we could have had a potentially more interesting character than Kid Trunks has turned out. Like that, he's been around for 20 years, and he's only had like maybe two times where he's done something interesting. Because even in GT, it's like, yeah, he's part of the main cast, but I mean, that basically ends once the stuff with Baby starts, where he's the first person to get possessed, and then he's a minion for like the whole arc, and then he's getting smacked up by Super 17, and then he's not with Goku and Pan when they're looking for the dragons all the way up until he falls off so hard. Yeah, the time skips ruined the romance interactions for the show. Well, it was just their way of explaining away how people get together. They don't like Toriyama didn't care. Kishimoto is the exact same way as his mentor. Like, you know, no, little tiny stuff with Hinata before the stuff with Naruto, but time skip. Oh, they went from never having even gone on a date to now they're married. And they did that with everybody. Just never going on a date before, now they're married. Dude, the Sasuke Sakura romance is the most toxic thing I've ever seen in a it's like how do you I'll never understand how like in the year I guess it was 2014 when Naruto ended. Yeah, like in just the 21st century, you thought it was like a good idea for a romantic plot to be this woman gets with a man that tried to kill her and like said, "I don't want to be with you" for hundreds of chapters, and now, oh my god. Somebody said they should have just had Naruto. They should have just had Sasuke be a woman and had Naruto get with her. I would have liked that more than this. That'd be a pretty interesting show. This man's like lover runs off somewhere to be part of some evil group, and he has to stop her in the organization. And you could have this like thing about how complex love can be, and all. Wow, that would have been way better than let me be so concerned and worried about this other man that I hope that he has. I promise to bring him back. They just use time skips for everything. They use time skips to explain away. Hold on a second. Damn. All right, I gotta go because somebody's delivering something and they want me to assist them with this stuff. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. Um, damn, I want to talk more about this stuff. Whatever, we'll do it on Monday. So thanks for showing up. I'm gonna try to put out one of the romance videos this week. I've got most of the script written for a new one. I hope that someone doesn't download it and try to pretend to be me again. We don't need any more chameleons. So have a good day.